Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all my Rescue Ace Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile. This is the last of the 3 decks from the Amazing Defenders booster set introduced. In the latest Yu-Gi-Oh! Set, the Rescue Ace deck focuses on a sort of control playstyle that focuses on special summoning out Rescue Ace Turbulence, your go-to boss monster, and then being able to set up many different Rescue Ace spell and trap cards, and also be able to recycle them with cards like the field spell, and then also being able to set up your Rescue Ace Turbulence with some of the lower level monsters that we run in the deck. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the 2 bigger Rescue Ace boss monsters, I run 1 copy of Rescue Ace Turbulence and 1 copy of Rescue Ace Fire Engine. With Turbulence, you can banish 2 Rescue Ace cards from your graveyard to special summon this card from your hand, and during your main phase, you can set up to 4 Rescue Ace quick play spells and normal traps with different names directly from your deck. If another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, except during the damage step, you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it. You can only use this effect of Rescue Ace Turbulence once per turn. So like I said, this is your go-to boss monster for the fact that you can just set up 4 different Rescue Ace spell or traps on the field and then use them. And most of them are just being able to provide more of a recycle from the graveyard or just provide additional backup to the other Rescue Ace monsters. And with Rescue Ace Fire Engine, if a Rescue Ace monster is normal or special summon to your field, except for Fire Engine, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. If a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field, except during the damage step, you can special summon 1 level 4 lower Rescue Ace monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So you can only use this effect of Fire Engine once per turn, but being another easy special summon, it can be used to set up some of the lower level Rescue Ace monsters we run, like Rescue Ace Hydrant, that much more quickly to the field. But once again, just 1-ups for each of them. It's really all you need, because then you can use other cards like your Rescue and also your Alert to recycle and reuse them from the graveyard or the deck. For some of the higher number Rescue Ace cards that I run in the deck, I run 3 copies of Rescue Ace Airlifter. When it's normal or special summon, you can add 1 Rescue Ace spell from your deck to your hand. When your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, quick effect, you can tribute this card from your hand or face up on the field to special summon 1 Rescue Ace monster from your hand, except for Rescue Ace Airlifter. You can only use this effect of Airlifter once per turn. It's more setup. Once again, just being able to tribute this card from your hand as well just gives you a quicker response to the field with some of your other Rescue Ace monsters, depending on which ones you want for the special summon in the setup. And if you have any of the other Rescue Ace monsters, it just makes it that much more quickly to get them onto the field thanks to Airlifter. For one of the other easier setup cards, I also run 3 copies of Rescue Ace Hydrant. While you control a Rescue Ace monster other than Rescue Ace Hydrant, your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks. Also, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. You can only use each of the following of Rescue Ace Hydrant once per turn. You can activate a quick play spell or trap that was set by the effect of your Rescue Ace card the turn it was set. And during your main phase, you can add 1 Rescue Ace monster from your deck to your hand, except for Rescue Ace Hydrant. So you use Hydrant to search out some of the bigger 1-ups that we run in the deck, but also being able to then use this card and its setup spell or traps on the field the turn you set them gives you access to the quick play spells I mentioned before, including Rescue and Alert. For some of the lower numbers for the Rescue Ace monsters, I also run 2 copies of Rescue Ace Impulse. During your main phase, you can choose 1 effect monster your opponent controls with the highest attack, your choice. If tied, neither player can activate that monster's effects on the field this turn, and when an opponent activates a monster effect on the field, quick effect, you can tribute this card from your hand or face on the field to special summon 1 Machine Rescue Ace monster from your deck. You can only use this effect of Rescue Ace Ice Impulse once per turn. Once again, more of a setup card, but you can also restrict your opponent with its own card effect. Only 2 of those. It's more of a specific, situation type of card. So when you can activate it and search it, there are other better 3-ofs that you can use to get this card onto the field much more quickly. The last of the 2-ofs for the Rescue Ace monsters, 2 copies of Rescue Ace Monitor. If it's normal or special summon, you can add 1 Rescue Ace Trap from your deck to your hand. When your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, quick effect, you contribute this card from your hand or face on the field to target 1 Rescue Ace monster in your graveyard, except for Rescue Ace Monitor, and special summon it. You can only use each effect of Rescue Ace Monitor once per turn. Same with Impulse. It's more of a specific setup using this card with the graveyard. And for the trap setup, it can help with some of the traps that we run, including Extinguish, and Contain, but it all comes down to just having these cards already set up. So Ace Monitor comes in handy as just another card later in the game for your setup. And then lastly, for the Rescue Ace monsters, one copy of Rescue Ace Fire Attacker. If a Rescue Ace monster is normal or special summon to your field except Rescue Ace Fire Attacker, except during the damage step, you can special this card from your hand, and if this card is added from your opponent's hand except by drawing it, except during the damage step, you can draw 2 cards and then discard 1 card. You can only use this effect of Rescue Ace Fire Attacker once per turn. Another searched card that can easily be special summoned onto the field and then made use of by being able to set up other cards for you to use in the graveyard with some of your other monsters. And just being another special summonable card, if you add it to your hand with cards like Hydrant and then proceed to summon another Rescue Ace monster, you can then in change just special summon that additional monster onto the field that you already searched out. For the other monsters that I run in the deck, just 3 copies of Gizmic Naganaki, the Sunrise Signaler. You contribute 1 machine monster whose attack equals its own defense to special summon from your deck, 1 machine monster whose attack equals its own defense with a lower level than the tributed monster, and then you can also banish this card from your graveyard to your hand to add to your hand 1 of your banished face down machine monsters whose attack equals its own defense. You're mostly going to use your Gizmic Naganaki for its tribute effect. Since all of the Rescue Ace monsters have the same attack and defense, you can make use of the tribute for any of the other ones, being able just to tribute one of the higher level ones using Naganaki to then go into Fire Ace Hydrant, which is your main go-to setup card to begin with, is always a great searcher, and why we run 3 of that card. Moving on now to the spells, I run 2 copies of Rescue. Now, the only reason I run 2 copies of this card is because you can set them up easily with your Rescue Ace Turbulence. This card can set up all of your quick play spells for you to activate much more quickly. It's always treated as a Rescue Ace card, so you can easily just set it up as one of those go-to set spell or traps. You target 1 Rescue Ace monster in your graveyard, or if you control Rescue Ace Hydrant, you can target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard instead and special summon it to your field. You want to activate 1 rescue per turn, but it just gives you a resource. Being able to activate this quick play spell in response to your opponent even targeting one of their monsters in their graveyard, and then being able to use the fact that you have Hydrant on the field to take that monster yourself, can either fizzle out one of their activated cards and then just give you that free resource. I also run 2 copies of Alert. With this card, it's treated as a Rescue Ace card as well, and add 1 Rescue Ace monster from your graveyard to your hand, or if you control Rescue Ace Hydrant, you can add 1 Rescue Ace monster from your deck to your hand instead. You go and activate 1 Alert per turn. So once again, it's another searcher, being able to add a monster with this card from your graveyard if you control the Rescue Ace Hydrant to add a Rescue Ace monster from your deck to your hand. It's a search option with this card to target that monster in the deck to search, but then also having the special summon option with Rescue, having both options available to you to continue all your resources with your many different Rescue Ace monsters. And I also run 2 copies of Rescue Ace HQ. While your opponent controls a monster, all Rescue Ace monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense. During the main phase, you can normal summon 1 Rescue Ace monster in addition to your normal summoner set. You can only gain this effect once per turn, and once per turn you can target 4 of your Rescue Ace cards that are banished and or in the graveyard and shuffle them into the deck and then draw 1 card. So this is the recycle, and why I also just run the 2-ups for all of the other cards. You can set them up with your other Rescue Ace cards for that search, including just being able to add it with Airlifter, and then recycle them thanks to this card on the field back into the deck for them just to be set up again thanks to your Rescue Ace Turbulence onto the field. I also run, along with that field spell, 2 copies of Sacred Scrolls of Gizmic Legend. During your main phase, you can activate the top 3 cards of your deck and add 1 Excavated Machine monster whose attack equals its own defense to your hand. Also banish the remaining cards face down. So the option for the banish face down add back can come in handy with your Naganaki, but also just being able to add this card or any of the machine Rescue Ace monsters that we run, since they have the same attack and defense, from our deck to our hand. It's just another additional searcher thanks to this card in the deck to begin with. I also run 3 copies of Piraeus Map, just because it can search out your Rescue Hydrant to your hand. And like I said, this is your main go-to card to set up a good majority of your plays. So the sooner you get this card into your hand, the better that you can use it with cards like Piraeus Map. Also 2 copies of Limiter Removal for the additional boost of your machine monsters on the field. Doubling their attack, you can hit for some pretty big numbers, especially with your go-to ace boss monsters in the deck. Turbulence alone being a machine monster with 3,000 attack and being able to put at 6,000 could be enough to finish off your opponent with that one swing there. Also, for the one-ofs for these spells, I run 1 copy of Terraforming for both of the field spells we run, 1 copy of Call by the Grave, 1 Reinforcements of the Army, because the Fire Rescue Ace monsters that are not machine are warriors, so just another easy warrior search, and 1 for 1. Once again, going back to Rescue Ace Hydrant and adding this card to your hand for you to then start off all your plays. And then for the traps can be set up just like the spells with Turbulence and then activated if you control Hydrant the same turn. Running 2 Contain, it's always treated as a Rescue Ace card. If you control a Rescue Ace monster, target one effect monster your opponent controls this turn. That effect monster cannot attack. Also, its effects are negated. If you control Rescue Ace Hydrant at resolution of this effect, that monster also cannot be used as material for Fusion, Synchro Xyz, or Link Summon this turn. So that can basically just shut down any monster your opponent may have on their field. And one of the set cards that you can set up with Turbulence. This also comes back to the fact that this is a control deck, so being able to use your Fire Rescue Ace monsters as go-to setup for this card just makes it all the better, stopping that opponent's monster effect and then also just making a complete use on the field. I also run 2 copies of Extinguish, with this card being treated as a Rescue Ace card as well. If you control a Rescue Ace monster, target one effect monster your opponent controls, destroy it. Then if you currently control Rescue Ace Hydrant, your opponent cannot activate the effects of that rescue monster or that destroyed monster or monster with the same original name this turn. So even if it has a destroyed by card effect monster effect, you won't really be able to do much with it because this card will stop that card in its tracks. Once again, you have a card that can just negate the card on the field and then a card that can destroy it and also make sure that no monster effects activate for it. That's actually just in the name for the traps, as you can see with the name Contain and then the name Extinguish. All of them going back to the fact that if you don't have your Rescue Ace Hydrant set up on the field, you really can't use any of your other Rescue Ace cards because once again, just like Fireman, you need the Hydrant to be able to put out any of the fires. And then the last of the traps, just 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence for more monster shutdown. Didn't really have much room for you to put any of the Ash Blossom or Effect Failure hand traps, so just found room for 3 Infinite Impermanence if your opponent does go first against you, just as a hand trap of choice to stop any monster effects they have on the field. And for the extra deck, there's really no extra deck monsters for the Rescue Ace monsters, so we're just going with a generic lineup. So 1 Link Karibo, 1 Relinquished Anima, 1 Heat of the Fire Charmer, 1 Lena the Light Charmer, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Isolde, Tale of the Noble Knights, along with 1 copy of Barricade Board Blocker, 1 Security Dragon, 1 Dual Little Chimera, and 1 Underclock Taker for all the Link 2s. For the Link 3s, 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn and 1 Decode Talker. And then for the higher links, 1 Boral Sword Dragon, 1 Apollosa, and 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. Like I said, it's a pretty generic extra deck, but still, it can help with some of the link plays you make because then you can set up those Fire Ace monsters in your graveyard for you then to banish with cards like Rescue Ace Turbulence. As for some of the go-to plays in the deck, once again, with one of your most important cards being your Rescue Ace Hydrant, whether you get it to your hand with Piraeus Map or even just being able to summon it with cards like 1 for 1, you have that play with your Rescue Ace Hydrant. Once you add to your hand, while you control a Rescue Ace monster other than Hydrant, your opponent cannot target this card for attacks. With this card, you can only use each of the following effects of Hydrant once per turn. You can activate a quick play spell or trap the turn it was set with your Rescue Ace card, and during your main phase, you can add 1 Rescue Ace monster from your deck to your hand except for Hydrant. So then, with this additional Rescue Ace search, you can add to your hand the additional Rescue Ace monster, having that tribute option from your hand with that Rescue Ace monster as well. When your opponent activates that monster effect, being able to tribute the card from your hand and then special summon 1 additional Rescue Ace monster. So if your opponent tries to go for the additional hand trap option with your search, if you already have the Rescue Ace monster in your hand, you can tribute that card and then get the additional special summon if it's your Airlifter to your hand to special summon a Rescue Ace from your hand. Aside from Airlifter, that'll give you the 2 additional monsters on the field for you to use. So even if you don't have the additional Rescue Ace search off of your Hydrant, if you have 1 additional Rescue Ace monster from your hand for you to use, you may even have the boss monster already to begin with. That can be the setup needed and just that additional monster response from your opponent for you to then get those 2 cards on the field. And the faster you set up Turbulence, the faster then you can use it to set up to 4 different Rescue Ace spell and traps from your deck onto your field. If you have Hydrant all set up, you you can then just use the additional ones you activate this turn, stopping your opponent's own monsters, or getting the search and special summons you needed with this deck as well. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Once again, it's a pretty awesome deck. It's a big control theme with the whole deck as a concept, and we'll see. I think we do have some more support for it coming in Cyberstorm Access. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.